Space Jam 2 just came out, or Space Jam: A New Legacy as they'd like you to call it, and it is one of the definitive worst movies of the year. Listen, I'm not one of these big proponents of Space Jam 1, although I do think it's a far superior product to this, but I do need to preface and say that it is a bad movie, but it's just nowhere near as bad as Space Jam 2. And I hate to focus the crux of this review on comparing the two products, but it seems to be what the whole internet is doing, and I kinda have to follow suit. You see, Space Jam 1 was this absurdist comedy that focused on Michael Jordan being a straight man, and all of the humor came from the Looney Tunes around him. But Space Jam 2 goes in a bit of a different direction, as the humor is based around LeBron James being in the Space Jam Looney Tunes universe, and also kind of every single pop culture reference that you could possibly think of. Seriously. There is a part in this film where the characters from A Clockwork Orange appear in a children's film, and I really wasn't able to cope with the whole film after seeing that. But I think that's just kind of a testament to how much of a sellout this film really is. There is absolutely no reason for Space Jam: A New Legacy to have been made other than to make profit and sell products in the future. There's no heart and soul behind this. The message is one of the most common messages we see in family movies, which is spend more time connecting with family. And I think I've heard that message in the last two family movies that I've seen, one of them being The Boss Baby, Back in Business, Family Matters, whatever the hell it's called. And I just kind of expected this film to be less formulaic and more absurdist like the original Space Jam was, considering they ripped off every single other aspect of it, except, oh wait, this time they know how to integrate things, and they know how to use even more pop culture references. And instead of the side characters in the original film that are human, being Bill Murray, who is just one of the most charismatic actors that we have in modern day cinema and knows how to do everything relatively well. Instead, in Space Jam 2, we get one of the most over-the-top, cartoonish, ridiculous performances by Don Cheadle I have seen in a very long time as Mr. Al G. Rhythm, because if you didn't get it, that's algorithm. And this film wants to pretend that it knows everything about the internet and the way that it works in game developing, when in all reality, it's probably written by a couple of 40-year-olds who have no idea about how any of that works. Now, I hear you saying, this is a kid's movie. Why are you going so hard on a kid's movie? It should just be pure enjoyment. And I kind of agree with you if it wasn't for all of the shameless shilling that Warner Brothers does in this movie by placing an ad every 10 seconds and just treating this whole thing as a product. Don't you want kids' movies for kids to be authentic, to be enjoyable, to not have an ulterior motive to them, something like a Pixar movie or most Disney movies in general? And there are some people out there saying that this has tarnished LeBron James' legacy, which is kind of one of the most ridiculous ideas ever, and I just can't get behind whatsoever. Oh wait, I can, because he's not only the star of this movie, he's also a producer of this movie, which means he had a hand in all of the brand deals, in all of the random cameos, trying to sell your kids on stuff. So hey, I can't help but blame him. It doesn't tarnish his basketball legacy, but it's just a little weird that he made Space Jam 2 and didn't stick to the authentic roots of Space Jam 1. And I know this is a little bit early to say, it's kind of jumping the gun, but I truly believe there won't be any memorable moments from this movie. You know what I remember from Space Jam 1? I remember the arm extension. I remember that because of how absurd it was. And I know that they tried to update this movie for the modern era with all the technology and essentially it being a video game, but that kind of takes out the innovativeness, and it's almost innovativeness, that's not even a word, innovation. And it's almost just a cheat code to intersperse random bursts of supposed creativity that kind of all just meld together, in my opinion. Like the idea of these created characters, like Kronos and the Brow, they're interesting in the Black Mamba, but the problem is we don't have any backstory on them. They're just NBA players. In Space Jam 1, they're aliens that are fighting for their lives, essentially, who stole their powers from popular basketball players. And then we have that side thing of, these basketball players suck all of a sudden. Where did their powers go? Are they going to get them back? There's so much more depth to the first Space Jam, and I can't believe I'm arguing this, because I didn't think I'd ever have to argue that Space Jam is better than something. But there's no real anything substance behind anything in Space Jam 2, and it's ridiculous. And I think that one of the reasons that this writing is so lazy and lacks any vision whatsoever while taking every shortcut possible is because the team of writers on Space Jam: A New Legacy, there are 4 of them, only have one feature film written between the 4 of them before this, and it was last year. Most of these writers, this is their debut feature, and you can tell because there's no vision, there's no nuance in the writing whatsoever. They don't even know how to write real jokes. Meanwhile, if you look at the first Space Jam, the writers on that wrote such films, and I'm not saying these are great films, like Trading Places, which is actually a pretty good film, Kindergarten Cop, and The Santa Claus. Those are real films that they wrote before this, though they have experience in doing so. But meanwhile, this writing staff seemed to just rely on the fact that everybody knows who LeBron James is and will understand LeBron James jokes, and everybody knows what Warner Brothers company products are, and they will understand jokes revolving around them. Also, quick question to whoever the hell casted this. You got Steven Yeun in this movie, and you didn't give him a more prominent role than getting on screen for 2 minutes and talking about the Warner 3000, the definitive best actor in this whole movie. You just throw on screen for a random 2 minutes and you don't bring back at all. That's a travesty. Come on, you can do better than that. Ultimately, Space Jam: A New Legacy is just a film that revolves around the iconography of the first film, and there's nothing else to it. It's almost like a worthless experience. I went into it, and with most movies, I at least get something out of it. Some type of experience, whether it be bad or good. I didn't get anything out of this. I just felt numb and nothingness. And that's a shame, because the first Space Jam made me happy. And for the record, this isn't a nostalgia trip. I saw Space Jam in theaters with my ex-best friend 3 years ago in the summertime, and I had so much fun watching it. And maybe it was because we were watching it in an empty theater, but nonetheless, we enjoyed our time because of how absurd it is. And there was something there. There was heart in the first Space Jam. And where that heart is, there's an empty void for this new sequel filled with greed and just corporations formulating product sales. And that's all there is to it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it and you want to see more of this, you can support me on Patreon in the link in the description. We've got some interesting tiers over there. I'd like to once again thank my patrons, Weston Gatecki and Carl McGee, and my producer, the BC Film Reviews. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you in the next one. Don't watch this movie. Goodbye.